Welcome to the podcast from the Swamp,
at Baseball Park, Weiersburg, Germany.
Brought to you by the Solingen Alligators Baseball Club,
Smashing runs since 1991. Dive into Alligators Alley with your hosts Max Michalk and Bruno Römer
as we bring you face to face with the legends of the game.
Former MLB players, active coaches, and many more to come.
It's all right here, folks.
Let's play ball. So, hello guys, welcome back to the next episode of The Swamp, live from the Baseball Park Weiersburg in Germany. Today's guest is a Major League legend. Marvin Freeman is here. Nice to have you, Marvin.
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Awesome. Thanks for
Pretty
being
good.
here, and thanks for letting us pick your brain and talk a little bit about your awesome career in the big leagues.
Yes.
Well, when it comes to baseball, I'm always ready to talk, and you put a camera in front of me, and we're gonna have a show.
Great. So let's start off right away. Let's start with your beginning of your career. You started as a Philly. You made your debut as a Philly in 1968. Coming up
1968.
86.
86.
Bruno.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
1986.
whoa, wait a minute, man. Slow down now. Slow down. You put another 50 years on me there, bro. Come on, man.
So
1986, man. I'm old enough as it is, okay?
yeah, 1986. You started as a young pitcher coming from Chicago. Take us back to that moment. What do you remember about stepping up to the major league mound for the first time? Have you been nervous, excited, or were you just locked in?
Well, you're always nervous up until it's time to throw that first pitch. And then you revert back to all the training that you did, preparing yourself to get to that moment. And you out there competing now. There's no time to be nervous because everybody's on. The camera's on you now. So if you're nervous, everybody sees it. And so, if you prepared yourself in a way, and it took all those years to do some things that you love doing and you were good at doing, you just focus on that. You can't control anything that goes on around you. But, making that first big league start, everybody's going to have butterflies. And my first pitch was a strike. So I got over it pretty quickly. And I was in the frying pan right off the top.
Great. So way to start off your career with the first strike.
I know, right? I ended up walking the guy, too.
Do you still remember who that first batter was?
Oh, yeah. If you've seen my social media, I got all the videos from almost every game that I've pitched. And the first batter was Pittsburgh Pirates outfielder Joe Orsulak. And I know he got thrown out trying to steal. And then the first batter that I ever got out in the major leagues was Barry Bonds. He was bat number 2. And so Barry Bonds hit a foul ball pop up to first base. And that was the first actual out that I got. And then looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, I got Barry Bonds out. What you talking about?
That's
Hey,
great.
that's a first out to remember, man.
Absolutely.
So after you played a couple seasons with the Phillies, you were traded to the Atlanta Braves, a team that everybody knows had a couple of good years in that time period. What was it like walking into that Braves locker room with a clubhouse full of future Hall of Famers? How did that environment help you to grow as a major leaguer and as a person?
Well, when I got traded to the Braves were in last place. 1990, the Braves were one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, they probably averaged 6,000 fans at every game. So when I got traded over there, I was just so happy to get a change of scenery leaving Philadelphia because, pitching on that AstroTurf and the Philly fans can be a little tough when you're not doing the things that they expect you to do. And I was a young kid coming up, trying to really get my feet on the ground, trying to find out how to be successful and learn how to be a major leaguer. And it was just so many things that I wasn't ready for. But when I got traded over to the Braves, I went over to the Braves. Every game was like playing a practice game because no fans was there. So you didn't have any time to think about getting booed or getting stuff thrown at you out of the stands. You just had a chance to go out there and, you know, get your feet on the ground, learn how to get major league hitters out. And then the following year, is when the Braves brought in a new general manager, John Schuerholz, and he brought in all these veterans, Terry Pendleton, Otis Nixon, brought in Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz were already there, and they were struggling young pitchers as well, but they had a chance to learn on the job when they were in the major leagues, whereas when I was in Philly, it was like, you don't do the job, you're going back to the minors. So you really always had that fear of, if I don't do well, they're going to get me out of here. And that's no way to like really learn from trial and error because, if you were making mistakes, you were going back to the minors. But the Braves gave their young pitchers a chance to grow. And the second I got traded over there, they told me, they said, look, you're going to be a relief pitcher. And I think that was probably the best thing for me because my mentality was if I had a bad start, it would eat me up for 5 days until it was time for me to go back out there again. So being a reliever when I can pitch today, tomorrow, the next day, 2 or 3 days in a row, if I had a bad outing, I can brush that off and go out there the next day and try and clean it up. So it really gave me a better understanding of how to get guys out, how to make sure that the things I was doing was going to be successful. And it gave me a chance to redeem myself a little bit quicker. So it was great going over there. And of course, in 91, we went from worst to first, went to the World Series, ended up losing a heartbreaker to the Twins in 7 games. And it was just probably still one of the greatest World Series that I've ever witnessed. And, it'll always be special to me. That's why I end up moving back to Atlanta because I had so many deep roots here.
Understand. Just a question concerning to that. I mean, nowadays I hear so in Germany the Fußball Bundesliga is pretty big. They have amount of money in it. Soccer, the first soccer league in Germany. And I recognized a couple of weeks ago that they now have like professional psycho doctors to get the players involved, to get all that
The
fans environment and
sports
yeah,
psychologist. Uh-huh.
right. So is it nowadays popular in the MLB too? And was it in the days back when you played?
Well, they had sports psychologists, but they weren't really popular because a lot of guys didn't want to seem like they needed that mental health. They, with athletes, we always gonna handle things on our own. We're big, strong guys, and we don't need any help from anybody else. But I mean, if you got strength and conditioning coaches, what's wrong with having a mental coach? Because sometimes putting your thoughts in the right order are going to help you physically and mentally perform better on the field. So that I knew that going in coming out of college. That's why I majored in psychology at Jackson State University when I went to college because I knew there was a real big psychological edge that the smarter players had over ones that was just relying on pure talent. So you
Hmm.
have to understand how to gather your thoughts, put them in order, and then apply those things to your work ethic, and then be able to think your way through things and have the ability to adjust faster when things aren't going your way.
Hmm. All right. Okay. So coming up to the next question, in 1994, with the Colorado Rockies, you put together a season that's still outstanding in franchise history, I guess. You got 10 wins, you got an 2.8 ERA, you received the CI Young Awards votes. What are your thoughts about that one?
Well, I've been watching the Rockies recently, and they're not doing too well. So every time I see the Rockies and the Braves play, and I think they're getting ready to play a series that's coming up next couple of days, I always remind the fans that I still hold the record for the lowest ERA in team history over there for 1 year. So it kind of gives me a reset and a memory. I can go back and think about that year that I had, and just being able to go over there when I left the Braves and applying the things that I learned once I moved back into the starting rotation, it really taught me as a reliever how to be pitching late in games, and I had already had experience as a starter. So I combined those two things together and put the kind of year that I had in 1994 together. And it's still one of the best years that I've ever had as a pitcher in my entire life, let alone in the major league. So I really have fond memories of that season, and it's really hard pitching in Colorado, but when you can go out there and have success, it just makes it more gratifying.
All right. So when you think back to that time, would you say there were any differences to the seasons you pitched before, like in your preparation, your mental health, I don't know, or your pitch selection?
Well, when I first went to Colorado, there was a real big issue with how pitches were going to be different. Your curveball wouldn't break as much, and I was a
Mhm.
sinker ball pitcher, so my ball wouldn't sink as much. And those were things that made me successful. So I had to really dig into what's going on with what the light air was making the ball do differently than it was doing at other stadiums. And I
Mhm.
realized that in Colorado, the harder you try, the more your ball is going to stay up, the less it's going to move. So I was more relaxed with the fact that if I go out here and just try and keep the ball down, make these guys hit the ball on the ground, I'm going to have a better chance than trying to strike everybody out. And if they hit it in the air, I mean, you're just cringing because a little pop up in the infield somewhere else is landing at the warning track in Colorado. So we called it arena baseball, like a pitcher's nightmare going out there trying to get guys out. So all the guys used to come in from the different teams, and we'd be talking to the other pitchers, and they'd go, "Hey, how do you guys survive out here, man?" And it goes back to what I said before. You better have a good, strong mentality, and you better be mentally tough enough to know that a 5 or 6 ERA in Colorado is pretty good because you're gonna score 7 or 8 runs a game.
All right. Mhm.
True. Coors Field is like Colorado. That is a tough place for a pitcher even today still.
Oh,
But
absolutely,
that's why
man.
you hold the record there as a pitcher.
Yeah, I keep rubbing it in them guys' face too. I'm like, it's been over 30 years, guys. You guys gonna come get this record or not? What's up?
Everybody throwing 100. Let's go. Break
Hey,
that.
you
No,
know
don't
what?
break that record.
That 100 it goes out 120 when it comes in 100. So I
True
mean,
that.
you had guys on other teams that were like everyday players, hitters that would have like a broken leg, and when they come to Colorado, they're cutting the cast off. They're trying to get in the lineup because they want to get some of them numbers up, man. So it was definitely a hitter's paradise.
Yeah, that's funny because we talked to the active hitting coach of the Colorado Rockies a couple episodes ago, Hensley Mullins.
Yeah,
So,
I faced
so
Bam Bam
Colorado,
before. I faced him in the minors when he was with the Yankees. He
Yeah.
was a slugger back in the day, and I know he's like loving to tell guys over there, "Hey, just get it in the air, guys."
so Colorado is the money maker for the hitters.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
indeed, man.
average arena.
Absolutely.
So, next question. Throughout your career, you faced some of the greatest hitters of the game, Tony Gwynn, and like you already said, Barry Bonds. Who would you say was the toughest out for you? And is there a particular at bat where you said, I'm still dreaming about that, I still have nightmares, or I could pitch him differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's different guys in different situations, but I would say a guy that I call him my stepdad. That's how bad he owned me was Jeff Conine from the Florida Marlins. He's
Yeah.
the only guy that I ever faced that had more than 2 home runs off me. He ended up hitting three. He probably batted about 700 against me, and it was like I just couldn't get him out. So when he came up, I just started telling him what was coming. I said, Jeff, hey, fastball down the middle, man. Maybe you'll hit it at somebody. But it's several guys that you don't want to see coming up there with the game on the line. And Jeff Conine was one of the guys that really gave me problems. Of course, Barry Bonds and Tony Gwynn and Gary Sheffield. These guys are Hall of Fame caliber. So you got to be that type of guy to give me some trouble. You got to be good. I mean, the average Joe ain't just coming up there and then smacking me around the ballpark. So I had to really try to lock in on those guys. And when you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer for a reason. So you make a mistake against those guys, they're going to make you pay.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
So, That's we stop with your active career. We come to your retirement, I think. So after you've been retired, you stayed active as a coach and to mentoring young players or young pitchers, especially. When you're talking to young pitchers or young players, what's your number one advice you give them?
Well, the number one advice I give all pitchers, no matter what age it is that you're going to earn your time on the field. No coach is going to just keep putting you in the game because he likes you. And if he likes you, it's because of the things that you're doing to help him win. So that means you got to be able to throw strikes. You got to always be a good team player. You got to always show up on time. So those attributes kind of all encompass one thing that all pitchers need to do. Now, if you're getting guys out, every coach loves you. You're going to earn more and more time on the field. So I have a motto: you earn what you eat. And if these guys are always complaining about not getting enough time on the field, I always revert back to, well, what did you do your last outing? So it's always, what have you done for me lately that's going to keep you getting on the field? And most of this stuff has to be, figured out when you're doing your practicing, your preparation, and those things. And just make sure guys understand how hard it is to pitch if they're prepared. Now, it's even harder if they're unprepared. So I try to make sure I prepare guys to do the simple things like throw strikes on both sides of the plate with their fastball, make sure they got an off-speed pitch that they can throw for a strike when they're behind in the count, and make sure they're pitching ahead. So if you do those things, you give yourself the best chance to be successful. So I don't try to make it too difficult for, pro guys, just like I try to make it as simple as I can for the younger guys. That's, 10, 11, 12-year-old pitchers. I teach everyone the same principles of pitching, and that's be able to deceive the hitter with changing speeds and move the ball around and work ahead. And if anybody's doing that, you give yourself a chance. Everybody's not going to throw 100 miles an hour, although it seems that way now. They're just looking out for guys that can throw 100. But those guys' careers are proven to be short because you're maxing out on every single pitch, and you only got so many 100-mile-an-hour pitches in your arm over the course of a career. When we were coming up, we could throw the ball 100, but we had longevity in mind. We wanted to be able to make that next start, not go out there and just try and strike everybody out. Try and get them out on as few pitches as possible. So there's so many different things that I kind of really teach the pitchers, but basically I just make sure that they're able to understand how their body works so that they can execute pitches.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's smart.
I think it's I can nothing more say about it. It's quite perfect, I think.
Yeah, just like
Um,
me.
So, we continue with a very, very special season. I didn't know this before Max told me about that. So the 1994 season in the MLB was a very special one because that season incredibly stops earlier than normal. How did it erupt you personally? The erupt end? No. How did it affect you personally? The erupt ending of the season, and what's your personal opinions about that?
Well, it was disappointing. I'm having a season of my life, and we're going through some labor talks with the union and the owners, and they're going back and forth, and they're telling us throughout the season that guys, it may be a lockout or a strike coming at the end of the season. So kind of prepare yourself. So I don't know if that had anything to do with like the sense of urgency that I took to the mound with me every time, knowing that this might be my last start before we go out on a work stoppage. But you know, I wasn't the only one it affected. So it affected, 700 and plus ball players. It affected all the fans. Everybody lost money, but it was all about trying to keep what we had earned as players and not let things be taken away from us. So we did what we had to do with any, union. You got to stick to the union, and I was always the kind of guy that, like I said earlier, I'm going to be a team player, and I'm going to do what the guys are saying in our union talk. So, it was very disappointing. I wanted to finish that season up just to see how things would have carried out, but we can always look back on things and wish different things could have happened. So I don't live like going back wondering what could have happened. Of course, you think about it, but it's over with and done with, man. Just got to keep moving forward. You remember the past, but you can't live in the past.
Hmm. Okay, and just to get our audience included, can you just wrap it up? What happens in that 1994 season?
Yeah, we I think we ended up going on strike because they couldn't reach an agreement, and then they canceled the rest of the season from August and September. They canceled the World Series. And then going into the next season, they canceled spring training. And that was the same spring training that the umpires had went on strike. So when they did start back, we went to like a real quick abbreviated spring training. Nobody was really in game ready shape. And then when we got to play games, we had replacement umpires and they were calling balls, man. It was like, wow. I was like, that was the only time I really appreciated the old umpires that was screwing me out of strikes I was throwing when they were there. So, I mean, it was just a mess, man. And once things got, pretty much back to normal, it was almost June. And, by then, guys were still really trying to find out how to get back in that groove, and it was just a tough situation.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, the one funny thing is that in 1994, Bruno and me were born,
Yeah.
so you guys didn't have to stop playing just because Bruno and me were coming
I
on
know,
the
man.
earth,
We
man.
sorry, man. Y'all stopped the world
But
when y'all was
thanks.
born. When y'all was born, they said, hold the horses.
Yeah.
Hold the horses. Wait till these guys get their feet wet, and then we gonna start this thing back up. So I'm glad you
Yeah,
guys are back, man. You brought baseball back.
so the next question is right in the strike zone for that one. Because one of the things the fans always loved about you was your positive, fun-loving attitude, which we already got a glance of. Baseball's a grind, 162 games, like you said, pitching 1 or 2 games in a row, or 3 games in a row, or as a starter every fifth day. How important was your personality to helping you and your teammates get through that tough stretch? How was it in the clubhouse? Were you the guy doing pranks and keeping everybody positive, even if
Well,
there's a rough patch?
I'm not the prank type of guy. I don't run around lighting guys' shoestrings on fire or putting whoopee cushions under their seats when they sit down. So I mean, I'm funny, but I call myself
True.
a comedian by you know circumstances. So if something funny happens, I can always make it funnier. Something sad happens, I can make it funny. Um, but on the days that I pitched, I was a psycho. I mean, you couldn't say a word to me. I didn't want to be. I didn't want anybody talking to me. I was off by myself. Getting back again into that that preparation of me thinking through every hitter from the time I got up that morning. I'm thinking about the lineup that I'm gonna face. I'm thinking about the pitches that I threw this guy last week, last year, 2 years ago, how I got him out. So I'm just really playing the game over and over and over in my head. So I didn't have time for a lot of conversation. And if any of my teammates, you ever talk to any of them, they would be like, hey, man, here come Free. Oh, he quiet. He must be pitching today. So it was just a different mentality. So leading off into the rest of the week, I couldn't walk around with that type of mentality. So I had to unleash the Free Dog. Free Dog came out on game day. Free Man came out during the week. So I was carefree during the week, man. And I had to. I love to have fun because I know that baseball is a game. And when I saw the fans having fun, I would have fun with them when I wasn't pitching, and I would try to make the experience for them like some of the experiences that I had when I was a kid going to ball games, and some of the players interacted with me. You never forget those things as a kid. and you always seem to remember those things, even if the player doesn't. I still have people to this day telling me, "Hey, remember that ball you gave me back in 1987?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I remember." But I'm like, I don't really remember because I probably given away 1,000 baseballs because they weren't mine to pay for. If I saw them in the bucket, I'm like throwing them in the stands like souvenirs for everybody, man. But I just wanted to make sure that when people came to a game and I wasn't pitching and they had some interaction with me, they would know that I was a human being. I'm a regular guy. I'm just a guy that just happened to have enough talent to get on the field, but when I'm not on the field, I'm a fan as well.
Mhm.
So then, how did you make the change? Like you said, the mentality when you were a relief pitcher. Like you couldn't walk around not knowing if you're gonna pitch that day. And how was that change? When did it happen? Did you, when the coach said to you, "Hey, go into the bullpen," you were like, "Yeah," and then business, or how was it?
Well, like I said, when I was on the Braves, I was on the team with 3 Cy Young Award winners. So it was a lot of days I knew when I got to the park that I wasn't going to be pitching. So I
Yeah,
would
true
have
that.
fun that day. If Greg Maddox is pitching, you just put your uniform over your street clothes, and then after the game, you just take your uniform off and get in the car and go home. You weren't pitching. You didn't have to shower or nothing, man. You just game over in 2 hours. Let's get out of here. Tell the wife, hey, make a reservation at 9:30. We're gonna make dinner plans. So, but most of the days, as a reliever, I treated myself as an everyday player. Every day I got to the park, I had a routine. Went in the outfield, did my pregame stuff, played catch. The first 3 or 4 innings of the ball game, I'd be in the bullpen messing around with the fans, having fun. Then I watched the game develop. And then as it was getting into situations like the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth inning, times when I might be able to come in, those are the times that I transformed. I moved back into the dugout, sat on the bench, start really getting into what the game was, how the game was unfolding, knowing what situation that I might be used in, and then I could kind of channel that mentality into that particular moment. And that's tough. If you're in a pennant race like we were for 2.5, 3 years, every game is important. You don't have time to be playing around. When they call your number, you better be ready when you go in there. So it was it was kind of a tough little scale to balance, but you're a professional. Nobody's gonna go take no excuses for you coming out there unprepared. So you do the things that's gonna get you ready to play. But again, I was getting older, more mature. I had understood how to maneuver my way through the big leagues, and I knew what was expected of me. So I knew how to get myself ready to pitch as a reliever. So every day I came to the park, I was thinking I might be in there today until the circumstances of the game proved to me that I wasn't going to be.
Mhm. So as a relief pitcher, I've been a starting pitcher for a couple of years. Last year I got a shoulder injury, unfortunately, and right now my shoulder is back again, but I cannot start and throw a complete game. So right now I'm a reliever, and I have some struggles um, being prepared for the moment I get in. What would you suggest for me? How do you would suggest to me to get ready? What should I do? Should I run every half inning to get ready, or what is your opinion about that?
Everybody's got a different routine that they might have to get into. I'm just gonna give you what I did when I was a reliever. Every day I got to the park, I had the same guy that I played catch with. It was Mark Wohlers. He was probably one of the few guys back in the 90s that was a legitimate 100-mile-an-hour pitcher. He ended up getting the save for the World Series Braves in '95. But me and Wohlers would play catch every day in the outfield. We play a little long toss, then we move it back into about 60 feet, work on our pitches, and then after we got done playing catch, we take that ball and throw it out of the top of the stadium, out over the stadium into the parking lot. And we did that up until every day. We did that up until Bobby Cox, the manager, called us in the office and said, "Hey guys, look, we can't have you hitting fans in the parking lot with baseballs." That was just a little fun we had. But every day we got to the park, we threw, and then the running part was we power shagged when the teams took BP. We were trying to run down every fly ball. We still did our regular workout routines, that we had with our trainers. But when it came down to game time, we had this we had like a 3 pound lead weighted ball. We didn't throw it. We did a lot of repetitions when we thought our time was going to come to warm up. So you didn't have to throw a lot of pitches off the mound because you don't want to waste all those bullets. And then the manager says, "Oh, you're not going in," and you thrown a whole bullpen session down in the bullpen. So you understand what it's going to take for you to get loose. Um,
Mhm.
there's nowhere to run, once the game starts, but you can run off the field when they take you out of the game. But just having an understanding that I got to make sure that my arm is loose. I got to do, if I had a routine where if I didn't pitch for 2 games in a row, I would throw a bullpen, a little light bullpen, just to keep myself sharp. And I played catch every day. That kind of kept my arm in a kind of condition where I knew I was going to be throwing. And if I took more, like I said, took more than 2 days off, it felt like my arm was tied in knots. So I had to stay loose that way. I always kept sleeves on so my body stayed warm. Warm muscles are easy to warm up faster. And
Mhm.
it's being able to pace yourself. You got to have 2 good pitches that you can rely on because as a reliever, you probably only going to go through the lineup maybe one time. And if you're going through more than one time, you just mop it up. It's too many guys to be trying to face, you know, trying to go 2 or 3 innings out of the bullpen every single night. So
Mhm.
you try to prepare yourself to um, have a out pitch and a whatever your second best pitch is, and you got to make sure you get those pitches over because you don't have the ability to feel your way through a situation when you're coming in and the game's on the line. So just preparation is going to come down to trial and error. What works for you, what doesn't work for you. And then when you
Mhm.
find out what works for you, you kind of stick with it and you keep doing those things. When you feel like it don't work, you got to change it up.
Okay. It's
Awesome.
it's
So the
pretty.
funny thing is,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, Bruno.
Mark Wohlers.
Yeah, I have to come back to him because everybody who listens to our podcast already knows that name. From our first episode with a guy who played for the Yankees, Jim Leyritz.
Lyrics.
So
He took my
yeah.
boy deep. That's all right. That's what he get paid for, man. Look, everybody think the pitcher's supposed to succeed all the time, but them hitters up there, they working their behinds off too on a daily basis. And you know, hitters are gonna make their money off mistakes. And pitchers are gonna make their money off being consistent. And when you make a mistake and the guy that's getting paid millions of dollars to hit your mistakes and he hit it, tip
Yeah.
your hat and move on, man. Just be glad it ain't in the World Series where the whole world is watching. But hey, that's how it goes, man. That's how it goes.
So Bruno, I would suggest we cut the next question and come um, to your youth foundation, the Marvin Freeman Youth Foundation. Uh, what is your primary mission with that organization? How can people support it?
Well, my primary mission is, with the cost that baseball is presenting to the everyday family, it's kind of hard for a family to pull money away from the family budget and apply it to a recreational sport like baseball. And over here, travel baseball is very expensive. You know, when I was growing up, all you needed to do was pay your $10 and you got your hat and you put your t-shirt on and your jeans and you went out there and played. Now, these kids have got to pay thousands of dollars to play on a team. They got to travel. The parents have to travel to go see them. They even make the parents pay to get in games to see their own kid who they paid for to be on the team. So I mean, it's just a huge, huge money making industry, and I've found that a lot of kids that were in the underserved areas, I don't say underprivileged because underserved is they're just not afforded the resources to go out and play in these expensive tournaments, even though they might be playing locally. Um, as I was coaching high school ball 20 years ago, I noticed that a lot of my guys couldn't play summer ball, and that's where you got to continue to work on your skill set and get better. And so back then, I was actually mentoring these guys. I was giving them free lesson and instruction, coaching them, even paying some of their travel fees out of my own pocket. And so after a while, my wife started looking at me like, "Hey, what's up?" He's spending a lot of money on other people's kids now. You got a son too. So as I really looked into it, and once my son graduated from high school, I still wanted to continue doing those things. And so we thought about taking all the knowledge that I gained from being a mentor, youth coach, and philanthropist, and trying to help these kids become, you know, well-rounded in sports, which always gives you more confidence in anything that you do in life, because I already know that, one out of a million guys is going to make it to the major league level. But every kid that I can lay my hands on and give them an opportunity to learn who the best version of themselves can be, those are the guys that I kind of really bring along. I put qualifications on them, like, you have to have a 3.0 grade point average. You have to do 20 hours of community service. Then you have to be a good teammate, and you have to have recommendations from your peers, your teachers, and stuff like that. And my foundation has supported kids in college. We've supported little league programs. We have a presentation actually coming up this Wednesday where we're giving the 7U League. We're sponsoring this league. So we're doing these things because we want to help kids at least maintain the ability to go out and say, I can play in some of these tournaments that normally I wouldn't be afforded to play in, because I just don't have the money in my budget. And so we've gotten a lot of guys to go to college. We're still working to try and involve girls in the program now with softball and stuff like that. And we always offer, you know, we always accept any kind of assistance from anyone that wants to help be a part of that mission. Our mission is to aid and mentor youth in education and sports. And, like I said, when I went to college, I was a psychology major at Jackson State University, so I know the importance of building the right mental strength coming up as a child, so it kind of helps them deal with things that they have to deal with in life. So it's really been a wonderful opportunity for us to reach out into the community and help those that want to be a part of it. So we're Marvin Freeman Youth Foundation.org. If anyone wants to tap into our website and just see some of the things that we're doing, and we're just trying to help as many kids as we can. We're not one of these foundations that's got um, 5, 6, 700,000 people. We're trying to be, you know, active in the community, because,
Mhm.
the community is where it starts at.
All right. Is it
That's
just
awesome.
in the States, or is it international?
Um, right now we're just, what do you mean? You mean the things that we do? We're trying to expand. We've expanded to another state. My son is taking on the part of the expansion out in Houston, Texas. And so we're a family foundation. We don't have we don't have a lot of hands on deck, but the ones
Mhm.
that we do have on deck are the ones that's putting in a lot of work. And we take donations from everywhere. I mean, they
Okay.
don't have to just be from the states. There's a donate button on there, and I'm sure if the dollar is still as valuable as it used to be, I mean, we'll take it. I don't know what's going on with the dollar right now, but whatever we do, man, we're just trying to put this money back into the community and help kids grow and become better adults. So that's
Mhm.
our mission.
Great.
That's awesome. So we're gonna put the link of that of your organization into the show notes, and whoever listens to this podcast and has, I don't know, a couple bucks next, oh, too much, or is willing to give it to a good organization, please give it to Marvin
Here it is.
so
Every
he can.
Here it
every
is.
little bit helps, guys. Every little bit helps because you never know how it's going to go in affecting some little kid that may need a glove, that may need to, be on a team with his best friend, but he can't. And these are the relationships that we're trying to build early, so that at some point in these kids' lives, when they grow, they can pass this same type of thing on to the people that's coming up behind them. So we're just trying to keep the chain moving.
Great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bruno, with looking at the time, we're almost at an hour. I would suggest you ask extra question number 4, and then we start the rapid fire round. Is
All
that
right.
okay, Bruno?
Yeah, it's fine. So, Marvin, your social media presence is pretty notable. I already followed you, and it's pretty inspiring to look at those reels and videos and stuff like this. How do you utilize platforms like Instagram and X or Facebook to engage with inspiring athletes?
Well, a lot of guys that follow me, they know the kind of things that I teach. I still, at this point now, I have probably about 9 or 10 current major league ball players that I actually train and work with. And so just being able to follow their careers because they're in the game now. I put a video up of me and they're like, "Who is this old guy right here?" I'm like, "Hey man, that's me." They're like, "Yeah, right." So I have to stay relevant by showing them some old highlights of what I did, but also bridging it together with the young guys now to let them know that the things that I'm teaching is baseball. I'm not trying to relabel this thing. I'm not trying to rename it. I mean, they are repackaging the sport to make it seem like everything that's being taught now is new, but it's not new. It's just, some people call it a hat, some people call it a cap. I mean, you can name it whatever you want, but when it's 60 feet 6 inches and the plate is 17 inches wide, and you got to throw it over that plate for it to be a strike, and it takes 3 strikes to strike somebody out, and you got to get 3 outs to end the inning. When they change those kind of things, then it's time to start changing some of the things that I teach. But right now, the things that I've done, somebody told me when I was a youth. Now I'm telling these kids now, and they see success because the guys that I'm telling it to are having success at the major league level. So it's not something that's made up. It's not my own doing. I'm just passing along the information that was passed to me. But I think I do it in a way that I can communicate clearly with the individual so they can understand what the things that they need to work with. So I think social media is a great platform for me to really um, shine a light on the kids that I work with, show that it's other kids out there that's having some of the same issues that I'm working with these kids on, and then they can kind of be at home and if they can't afford to come and or go and get a lesson or do anything like that, they can look at some of the tips that I'm giving away because my last name is Freeman. So it might as well be free, man. So I'm giving it away and they might as well take it and run with it. And if they get something out of it, hey, great. If they don't, then I've done all I could to kind of reach people that I would normally reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you tell us who are some of the guys you coach that are actually actively in the major leagues?
Well, the most current guy now is Chandler Simpson. He just got called up with the Florida Tampa Bay team.
Miami Marlins,
Yeah,
Tampa Bay Rays, yeah.
Tampa Bay Rays. Then we got Taj Bradley on the Florida Marlins. And we got Mark Church on the Texas Rangers. Then we got Michael Harris was a pitcher for me when I first got to Georgia when he was 14, 15 years old. He turned out to be Rookie of the Year. Lawrence Butler is in Oakland. He's tearing it up, tearing the cover off the ball. Xavion Curry, he was with the Florida Marlins. He's been up and down. Alex Spees, he's with the Minnesota Twins. He's a 100-mile-an-hour pitcher. And then it's a few more guys in the minors that's on their way up. Marquise Grissom Jr. with the Washington Nationals. He's their like number 5 prospect in their minor league system. And I'm hoping by the middle of the season he'll be in the big league. So a lot of guys there, a lot of guys coming, and these guys are getting a lot of information that they wouldn't normally get because I was the guy wondering what was going on in the back room when I was a player. Now I'm in the back room as a coach, so I can tell them what's going on, and then they don't have to wonder. They can just go out there and execute and perform some of the things that's going to help them continue to move up the line and get to the big leagues.
Awesome. After we're done with this interview, I'm gonna play some MLB The Show and play with some of you guys. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like, hey, I know a coach of them.
That's
I
right.
know a
That's
coach there.
right. I remember,
So,
I remember they had me in one of those video games, man, and I think I was my son used to be like, Dad, I'm gonna use you as my player, and it was like he was like, man, after about 2 hitters, they always have your shoulders puffing and puffing. You out of gas after 2 innings, man? I was like, no, man, that's fixed. That's fixed, son. So I used to play with myself back then as well. I was on my own team, man. That's all good. I love it.
Great.
awesome. So
Max,
yeah.
I have just one thing. We just put in between the rapid fire round and the interview. So, Marvin, if you have just one motto which was always on your mind throughout your baseball career, was there one like you would tell the audience?
As far as what baseball is concerned, or my
Yeah,
motto, or my
your
motto was the better you prepared, the less you be scared.
that's good.
And so, and most of the time, people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, because they used to always ask me, were you scared out there? Were you nervous? I'm like, no, I got ready for this. I mean, if everything that I'm doing, I don't trust it, of course I'm gonna be nervous. But if I trust the things that I'm working on, and I believe in myself, and I have the confidence that I'm just like the next man. If this man can do it, I can do it as well. But how do I get myself in the mentality of thinking that it's just me against him and not worry about everything that's going on around me? I got to focus on the things that I practice. I got to focus on how I prepare. If I don't prepare, then of course it's like walking into a room that you've never been in and all the lights are off and you tripping over the furniture. But if I
Mm.
walk into that room 100 times and then you turn the lights out, I know it's a coffee table right here. I'm gonna sidestep that. I know it's a door right here that I can go through. Just by doing it so much, I become more comfortable in those situations, and I'm not going anywhere blind.
Okay, that's great.
Perfect. So to round up this awesome interview, let's. Are you ready for our rapid fire round?
Let's go, man.
So 5 questions, short and quick answers only allowed.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the first question. What is a more satisfying moment, winning a playoff game with the Braves or dominating a season with the Rockies in '94?
Dominating the season in '94.
So, second one, tougher hitter to face, Tony Gwynns, bat control, or Barry Bonds power?
Barry Bonds, because he looked like he knew every pitch I was gonna throw.
Number 3, favorite teammate who could always make you laugh no matter what.
I'm gonna have to go with Dave Justice. He was one of the few guys that I ran with on the road, and he thought he was funny, but I was funnier.
It's Coors Field in July or Veterans Stadium in April. Which was tougher
Uh,
on your arm?
I, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Coors Field anytime. That was a tougher place to pitch.
So the last question is gonna be, what's your what's the biggest personal pitch you got? The two-seam fastball that moves a lot or a sharp slider?
What's the best pitch that I had?
Yeah.
Slider, man. I mean, I was slide or die, baby. You don't. If I don't have my slider, I'm in trouble because everybody can hit the fastball.
All right,
That's awesome. So
great.
that would end up our rapid fire round. Thank you for being part of this episode of The Swamp, and hopefully we one day see you in Germany, looking here at our awesome field and visiting us here in Germany, and give us a chance to pick up all the knowledge that you got over your
Yeah.
awesome career.
I would love to, man, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said, I have never met a camera that I didn't like, and I guess you guys found out now because I'm a bag of fun, man. I mean, I'm an interviewer's delight. You can just ask a question, sit back, and I'll suck up the time, man. I talk. I love to hear myself talk, but I don't just talk just to be talking. I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was very
Awesome.
informative, very nice interview. Thank you from my side too, and thank you from all the Green family, from the Alligators family. They appreciate it a lot.
All right, guys, you keep following, and anytime you want to reach out, you know where to find me.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Freeman.
Thanks.